Hello, I wanted to give you a quick update on some recent changes that I've made to the Polar Vortex. So you can see on the left side the web interface, which now has an improved grid to include the side columns, the top buttons. There's no labels yet, but it corresponds to the kind of 10 by 10 minus corners layout of the launchpad. And then I made it so that a lot more things can be controlled with the launchpad and are also indicated on the launchpad. So there's very little that you can only control through the web interface, namely what device you're connected to. Everything else you can control in real time while playing. So I thought I'd really quickly show you the speed difference. So this is the default, the old defaults. And that was 512 beats per minute. The new upper end is about 8 times faster. And you can see that it basically almost instantaneously fills up the screen with energy if you put down a few fingers. There's also the low end, which and you can actually change it in real time. So you can fill up like that. And then play with the time as you do it. So I want to put it back to right about where it was originally, because I want to show you the speed controls and the rotation and attraction controls. So down here indicates that things are being pulled to the center, because that's where the buttons are. If I have up, it means it's being pushed away from the center. I'm going to turn it off. If it's unlit, it means it's in between. It's 0. And then the rotation, you can notice that as I decrease it, it gets dimmer and then eventually goes out. That means there's no rotation either. And this mode, I've shown you before, where you can play a note. And there's a bit of a sustain as it decays. And I can speed this up. I can also slow this way down. And speed it up in real time just to get rid of that little highish note. Speaking of which, let's take a listen to, that's a little low, let's make that a little higher. And this can also be updated in real time. And then let's check out the low end for a minute. So that's kind of high. And that's, as you start going down, you hit lower notes and you can kind of see the limits of the low end. It's just kind of this low wobble. And then it becomes a little more intelligible when it gets to that first octave. I don't mind it so much because there's a bunch of sweet spots you can find depending on the style you're using. So briefly, I also wanted to mention that I standardized everything to use kind of the Launchpad's paint all command, where I just basically do all 10 by 10 at once, which means that I can do things like very easily coordinate. Let's try this and this. The colors are of the level indicators are also synced to the changes in colors. So it's not just the notes, it's the actual controls also are updated. The only ones that stay a different color are the good color controls, so that you can see which color you're switching to, and I also kind of changed the intensity so that the selected color is brighter. It's hard to film because it's so bright that you have trouble getting the range, but anyway, you get the idea. And so this keeps all the bits that most of the bits that I liked about the previous arrangement, except for that cloud of orbiting notes, and then gives you a lot more to work with, especially on the low end of the slow processing, the high end, the fast processing, and then the low and high pitch. So in addition to playing with the attraction and the rotation, you can also play with how fast and what pitch they start at. And it's just fun. I like playing with it. So I hope you enjoyed the quick demo.